So speaking of getting laid, Kitty Lixo, I think I'm saying her name, Lixo, Kitty Lixo. Kitty, it's probably Lixo because like lick. Anyways, Kitty Lixo went viral for claiming on a podcast that she had sex with not one but 3 employees from Instagram. So in other news, I just got a job at Instagram. I'm part of the department of
Integrity department.
I'm part of the integrity department now. So so this actually ended up getting covered like on Rolling Stone. So good for her. She got like a lot of good press for this. I would say. I think it's pretty
press
funny.
or press. Let's just say it's formal.
I mean,
press.
for her, for what I think she's like an OnlyFans sort
Yeah,
of like
you're
she's
right.
kind of like a porn star,
For her
right? So
business,
for her, this is great. This is awesome, right? Like I think this is really good for her. But what's funny about this, and I want to kind of touch on this. So obviously, like, you know, maybe who knows if this is even a true story. Probably is a true story, actually. I would imagine it is. But I've been hearing about a lot of people's accounts on Instagram getting shut down. So I actually recently heard about a business that was on Instagram. Account got shut down. She had, I think, 70,000 followers. Got shut down. No reason. Just account was gone. She couldn't access it anymore. Fast forward like 3 weeks later, she gets a notification from Instagram. We're sorry, your account was suspended by accident.
Oh, wow.
And this is somebody running like a legitimate business. I'm pretty sure it's a 7-figure business.
Oh, gosh.
And relies on her Instagram quite a bit. And it's crazy to me that they do this. Like that's just one story of many that I've heard of people. Like actually there was another story I kind of ran through of a company that when they put their age on, I think it was on Twitter. Yeah, I think it was a Twitter thing. They put their age on Twitter. It was the age of their company, their business profile, right? So all of a sudden, Twitter is asking for them to confirm their age because they thought they were underage, right? And because of that, their Twitter account got shut down because they were talking about the age of their company, not the person, their business.
Wow. Okay.
Right. And it got shut down. It got reinstated. But what a headache. Right. Yeah. And lucky for them, they got it back, I think, the same day. But I've heard a lot of people just losing their accounts and just,
I think
it's like,
I've been using TikTok a little more recently, and I think a lot of people there have 2 or 3 accounts running for that reason. They often you'll see in the description, they say, this is my backup account, because they're so used to their accounts just being deleted.
I see it all the time.
Yeah. And it's an interesting development because it's not new to lose your account, right? I remember the day an external platform became your main traffic source was the day you're vulnerable to that platform changing the rules. It's crazy. And
it's crazy.
YouTube was probably the first one I can think of where people would say, oh yeah, I got a buddy. He had a YouTube channel, 50 million views, gets deleted. Ended up being a bit of a silver lining. He had to go and create a second account, and then that kind of helped him to kind of get even bigger exposure and more traffic. But it was a lot of work to restore it all. But it's always been the case. This is why I've always grown my email newsletter rather than any other tool as my main thing, because no one can sort of switch that off. But if you rely on a social media platform, you've got to expect the fact that at some point there's a chance you will be deleted. What I think is more worrisome, I have a buddy who's in Ukraine right now. He's Ukrainian, and he's doing news coverage of it. And he said his TikTok account got banned because Russians all flagged it as false news. And of course, it's false news to Russians, because the Russians are going to say that him posting pictures of things going on in his country is not really what the Russians are doing there, And whatever the case is, the fact that can happen and there isn't a better way to first kind of mediate this. I understand the platforms have to maybe come back to it afterwards. Let's delete it first and then figure out whether it should be up or not, rather than let's figure out whether it should be up or not and then delete it. It's kind of it's just the way it is. But it's
even you look at the censorship of the first person who got really deplatformed was Alex Jones, right?
Yeah.
And it really probably hurt his business a lot, right? And now he even got sued, and I don't know if you know the whole story about him, but he's going bankrupt and stuff. But they really went after him, right? And I remember Nelk Boys Full Send. They had at Full Send on Instagram, and they were posting news about things going on. And then I forget what the news thing was. They posted something. I think it might have been about Ukraine, I think. And then I could be wrong about that. And then the whole account got shut down. They can't get it back.
Yeah.
And they had like a few million followers.
There's no such thing as an unbiased platform, right? There's going to be a bias on what's allowed and what's not. So this is actually, I know I keep bringing things back to Web3, but one of the main arguments for Web3 as a protocol, as a way of distributing content, is to have no central body that controls what can be said or not said. But I also find that scary because just like with this Russian scenario, if a bunch of people gather together and all report your profile, just because that's the way the system's built, to be like mob rule. If enough people get together and just decide to cancel someone, they're canceled regardless of what they did or did not do. So it's going to be hard. Like this is a very.
So do you think even in the Web3 world that's possible, or it's not?
For sure, it will. We don't have a good moderation system that's foolproof. We never will, though. It's like we'll never have a perfect political system. We'll never have a perfect media system, because you're always going to have people who disagree. That's normal. But then the way you decide when a line has been crossed and something needs to be removed or changed, and everyone disagrees on what that is and what should be allowed and what shouldn't be allowed. But if you have a moderation system that's based on a majority or a group coming together and all clicking what do you call it? The button that I could say, report. Matt posted content button. I disagree with because he said something about getting laid. Enough people say that, then your post is taken down. So it's not an easy answer. There's no foolproof solution, but I do think it's getting better. Like what I also don't like is the idea of what people talk about with Facebook. There's a leadership group in Facebook, and it's really just Mark Zuckerberg ultimately who then decides what and what can't be on the platform. Just like with it's funny because I'm not a fan of Trump, but then he was deleted from Twitter, which I think for net society was a good thing. For freedom of speech was a bad thing. So I really have trouble kind of correlating that. I agree and disagree with that happening.
Interesting. Yeah, I disagree with the thing because I feel like I think it's good to have different sides, like people having different opinions, let's just say. I think when it comes down to like hate speech, bullying, that sort of thing, I think that's, could be banned. I think that's good, Yeah,
but what is hate speech?
But
Again, it's like everything's in the granularities.
Well, no, I think hate speech is pretty clear. It's like, saying that you are against somebody for.
What about with these comics making a joke? And no, it's not hate speech. It's a joke. Should they be, brought down?
Right. Yeah. I see what you're saying there. Yeah. As a.
Let's switch this to a politics podcast. There you go, Matt.
Yeah. Well, anyways.
But I think, to bring it back to our topic of creators, that's an interesting topic in itself. What subjects, I think back to Logan Paul and what happened to him when he went to Japan, and he went into a sacred place and was looking at dead bodies, and he had a massive backlash. But then, of course, it turned into the narrative of Logan Paul coming back from that. And, he moved on to box and go on WWE and all these kind of things. So there's all these narratives you can play with. But I think it's important as a creator to understand your own morals and ethics around what you're doing and then what you're trying to achieve. Like, I don't think it's cool to climb Grouse Mountain to get a nice photo. Maybe not so cool to desecrate a sacred place and, just for the sake of getting more views. So draw the line where you think is appropriate.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that. I think it's, but in many cases, it feels like the rules are changing and the rules are different for different people, right?
Well, like this story you just shared, is this, should someone be getting favoritism because they had sex with certain people in Facebook?
Yeah, I know people who do the same thing to get the blue check mark. Right?
Really?
They know people. I'm not saying they sleep with them, but they know people on Instagram who will give them. Like, there's been reports about it. We can probably find it of Instagram employees who were paid to give blue check marks out, right? And then they got fired. They got caught, right? And they were taking in cash and like, sure, I'll go give you a blue check mark. And that was one of the ways people were getting blue check marks.
Right.
Dude, we should do a story about the blue check mark. Remember we were talking about that off the air?
Yeah.
We should actually add that in as for the next episode.
I'd love to get JJ on the show if you want for that, because that's what he sells right now.
Yeah, let's do it. And then, because I have theories on blue check marks. I haven't gone in to try to really get one.
The conspiracy of the blue check mark, right?
I think I know a way to get a blue check mark, so we could talk about it on a future episode.